Hi, everyone. Bill Renchler in the 1011 Now streaming studio. Hope everyone's having a nice Monday. Mondays are the days we get to hang out with Josh Planos from the Better Business Bureau. And Josh, it really is fortuitous timing that I knew I was going to get to hang out with you on Monday after this weekend. I think everyone and their dog got a text from what claimed to be the Nebraska DMV saying that, folks owed money or whatever else it was, which I think a lot of folks clearly off the bat thought it was a scam, and rightly so. A lot of people got multiple texts. Can you kind of take us through what happened, and then kind of the really, really quick turnaround of folks being like, yeah, this is a scam?
Yeah, it's a good thing we didn't come to an agreement on a segment topic on Friday because it sure seems like that would have been shelved awfully quickly. Yes, Bill, I can't remember a time in which it felt like we all woke up and had the same exact experience, but it really did seem to be that case on Saturday when many of us Nebraskans, those in Omaha, those in Lincoln in particular, woke up and received a number of text messages, in some cases one, in some cases two, from allegedly from the Nebraska Department of Motor Vehicles, indicating that something had gone wrong, whether it be an unpaid toll or you owe an outstanding amount for a traffic fine. The thrust of it, though, was we all received a communication from someone allegedly being the Nebraska DMV that indicated that we would lose our license, we would experience credit damage, we would even experience prosecution if we didn't remedy the issue right away. And luckily for us, they included a URL in the text that we were supposed to copy and paste into a browser or to respond to the text message to indicate that we are willing to engage with the communication. And really, what this amounts to is a phishing scam. This is something that is not unique to Nebraska. It has been reported in nearly a dozen states around the US. This is something that is likely to be a nationwide scam experience if it isn't already. And it really does feel like it follows as an extension of the unpaid toll scam that many of us also experienced, where you receive a strange communication from an agency that you probably don't have a lot of experience with in terms of communicating, and you're told that something is amiss and you need to correct it right away. And that's really checking off a lot of boxes in the scammer playbook. But luckily, it did seem like a lot of folks brought that experience forward, and there was near unanimous universal communication from the agencies that police consumer protection, indicating that this was a scam. So the reality is this is probably going to be experienced again in the future, right? It just so happened that on Saturday, all of us seemed to experience it at exactly the same time.
And we were saying beforehand, I'm not sure how exactly these all get put together, but I would imagine mass texting, again, like you said, two of the largest metro areas basically at the same time and seeing multiple of these messages within minutes of each other is probably someone screwed up on their end to make it really easy for us to say this is not right.
Yeah, you know those. I don't know if those fail videos are still very popular on YouTube of people falling, but it does seem like this would really fit the bill for a scammer fail because you could see why. Things like isolation and keeping things under wraps and being very secretive and forcing people to experience something seemingly on their own is an advantage to a scammer. So the shotgun blast approach of communicating with everyone is kind of a suboptimal strategy from a scammer's perspective. That being said, there are likely folks who did engage with this communication. And I certainly have worries about what that means for those people long term, because as you and I so regularly talk about, Bill, a lot of times the scam isn't about just getting a quick paycheck or a quick Venmo or a transaction with the user. In a lot of cases, particularly with phishing scams, it's about collecting information on the person. So it's not enough to have lost any amount of money in the scam. If you've lost your first name, your last name, your address, your phone number, your digital blueprint of who you are, that is really challenging long term. And I think for some folks, that might be something that they will experience down the road and not just on a Saturday in the summer.
And so, Josh, again, one of the things that I'm curious about. Obviously, we sign up for things, our email and our phone number get out there. I don't think a lot of us are necessarily too concerned about those pieces of information getting out there because we're signing up for things all the time, newsletters and things for sales and whatnot. But clearly, someone had a big list of phone numbers targeting, again, many residents here in Nebraska. Is that a red flag for us? Is that something that we can do anything about? Like, kind of what are your kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would say it is concerning that that amount of phone numbers, seemingly everyone, each of us know, was communicated with at exactly the same time by someone who did not have our best of intentions in mind. I will say it's very unlikely that our information is not exposed in some form or fashion. And really, consumer protection in 2025 is trying to stack the layers of protection high enough that you are out of reach from a scammer, from a hacker, from someone who doesn't have someone who has ulterior motives. I know that I do more than the average consumer to protect my information, and I know that my information is abundantly available online. So it's not to say that it's a fool's errand, but it really is incredibly challenging to keep our information under wraps at a time when a hack or a breach is so common. That being said, we should still do what we can in our power to control that kind of information being disseminated. Uh, it doesn't Nothing has really been reported yet about how this tranche of phone numbers and geographic locations were breached. But it stands to reason that it likely had something to do with a very large index of user accounts, particularly those in major metropolitan areas. Because while it was reported outside of Omaha and Lincoln, it did seem like a good number of civilians here were the folks who were contacted.
And Josh, you mentioned there were likely some people who clicked on that link or entered in some information. Is there any recourse that you think would be possible from a situation like this?
Yeah, I would say it depends on what they provided, first and foremost. If they did provide payment information of any kind, ideally you used a credit card or some mode of payment where you could flag that activity. All of us really, though, should be monitoring our accounts very regularly now. If you engaged with it or not, it's always best practice to monitor your accounts, but particularly if you did provide information that could be used to take out a line of credit, or if you did provide any sort of payment for a scam. You want to make sure that there's not ongoing transactions, as we find so regularly with the reports that come in through Scam Tracker. Is I didn't know that I signed up for a subscription service, or I didn't know that that account was then used to purchase X, Y, and Z. There's typically residual effects that extend beyond that initial payment. So, for many of us, the damage is done when you engage with that communication. The text message that I received indicated that I could continue the conversation if I should so choose by responding "why" to the message. That is in and of itself kind of problematic because what you're doing is you're identifying yourself as an active participant. You are a lead in a scammer's playbook. They know that they can get you to communicate with something, and that is in and of itself problematic. But for many of us, if we didn't provide payment information, we should be in the clear. But you want to make sure that you're monitoring your accounts best you can.
Okay. And so you kind of mentioned it, but again, obviously this was one, like you said, everyone got it at the same time. It was, generally not a 402 area code. It was a really weird area code, whatever it was. So again, pretty quickly, everyone got the idea that it was a scam. But like you said, whoever was running this scam was probably doing a pretty poor job of it. Most of the time, they do a pretty good job of it, much more isolated, and it can be any number of things. I know we talked at one point, I think it was like hockey equipment or something like that. And you guys have actually had a number, half a dozen or so reports into your scam tracker locally here in Nebraska from some different things. Can you kind of take us through some of those?
Absolutely. So these are all reports that have come through Scam Tracker this month. So in the month of June, we had a Nebraska man who received an automated call claiming to be documents, procedures, and conduct. So they were warning of some mail that was supposed to be delivered, and they instructed this person to press one. To continue the conversation, they abruptly disconnected. So what this is likely a phishing scam. They were calling to basically confirm this person's personal information, get him to acknowledge that he would engage with the communication, and then discontinued it entirely. So truly, this is a measure just like the scam that we talked about earlier with the DMV. That's truly just meant to get a sense for whether or not you'll engage with them at all. We had another Nebraska man who attempted to buy a classic car online. He wired funds through a fake escrow service posing as Sinto Shield. And after the payment was made, all the communication ceased and the company became unreachable. So I know a lot of classic cars are available online, and that's for some the only way you feel like you can get your hands on that vehicle. But the reality is, if you're working through an unknown website or an insecure website, you really stand to lose a lot, particularly when there's a wire transfer involved. We had another Nebraska man who received a USPS package with the wrong zip code, and it was addressed to somebody else containing an item he didn't order at all. So this guy, luckily, has chosen to report his experience, and he's monitoring his accounts for any unauthorized charges should another package arrive. We had a Nebraska woman who was looking to purchase a puppy from a company called Windy City Pups and Premier Pups. But the seller refused video calls and vet documents, which, Bill, you and I talk regularly about the importance of before you agree to buy any four-legged friend. And when she asked for proof of health records for that animal, the communication stopped. So this is a scam or a puppy mill fraud that was being perpetrated. We had another Nebraska woman order a weight loss product. She was charged $300 instead of the $49 that was advertised, and it was a subscription. So had she not caught it after the fact, this would have been a recurring 12-month, every month transaction that would have, eat up her credit allowance. The company did refuse a full refund despite her returning the package and disputing the charges. So that is something that has also been a complaint that has been reported through BBB that we are working to resolve at this time. But I think that the scams that are reported to us really do run the spectrum, right? We're talking about fake animals and fake loans and fake weight loss products, but many of them rely on the same tactics and the same underlying structure to be successful. And that's why the foundational aspects that we talk about so regularly are the most important things to hold on to, because in the moment, they will help you avoid a lot of different frauds, not just one.
And Josh, you've mentioned a couple times, and I know we've talked about it before, but it seems very pertinent now. The layering of your security is really the only way to go nowadays. Can you kind of take folks through exactly what that looks like, just in sort of a basic sense?
Yeah. So when you think about what kind of mode of payment provides the most security, in nearly every case, that's a credit card, because there's built-in fraud protection with that method. As a result, scammers are not too keen on allowing for people to pay for products with credit cards, because they know you stand to reclaim some of those funds if something doesn't go according to plan. But if at the root of the transaction, you can acknowledge that the mode of payment is probably the most important variable in concern, you will do everything you can to only seek out products that you can purchase with a secure payment method. That it is in and of itself a really important safety blanket to rely upon. Anytime someone is asking you for information to go along with a payment method, you want to, of course, use your discerning abilities to suss out what is reasonable information to request from what is unreasonable. So if somebody is asking you for your routing number to your bank account, there's no reason why you would need to provide that in 99% of the transactions that we come across as consumers. Or if someone's asking for your social security number, no reason to provide that. No, transaction will fall apart without that information. And keeping abreast of what has been reported on your bank account statements is a really good place to start, because if that information has gotten out earlier and you see suspect charges, that someone likely has access to that account or that line of credit in your name. You want to make sure that you're working through trustworthy websites as well. At least with this classic car online purchase, this is something that was on a website that did not have an HTTPS URL, something we gloss over very regularly, but is really, really essential, particularly when you're talking about an enormous sum involved in that transaction. And that just means the transaction will be a lot more secure if you're working through an HTTPS website.
It's a lot. It's a lot for us to kind of keep our eyes on nowadays, isn't it?
It is, and it truly it's a shame that it's even of such a concern. And I know that the guardrails are coming at some point, but we also need to be uh, honest with ourselves that there are things that we can control, and it regularly involves us slowing down and making decisions a little bit more intentionally, even if it comes at the expense of some of that time. I mean, it's wild that you can do things from couches nowadays that you could only dream about 10, 15 years ago, and now it's just the standard practice.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Josh, all good information for us today. Anything else that's top of mind for you guys over at the BBB?
I would just thank those who came forward in a very loud chorus on Saturday and said, this doesn't seem right. Uh, I do think, though, that at its root, in a way, this scam in particular is a reminder of how important the phone number is attached to that communication. So as far as I'm concerned, this scam text really did pass the smell test in a lot of different respects. Yes, there was some gibberish characters added to that URL that was involved in the text, but really a lot of the language mirrored what you would expect if you were to receive a communication from the DMV. However, I got a plus 31 text message to that. That was the start of the phone number. That I believe is the Netherlands. I knew immediately, right, based on that information alone, that there's no world in which the Nebraska DMV would run its communication through an international country, right? But for many of us, that's something that was really glossed over very quickly because we jumped right into the meat of the message. It's just like an email, really important to take a step back and examine the entirety of the communication, including where it originated from.
And I don't want to get ahead of myself here because figure we might actually end up talking about this next week. College World Series is going to be starting up this weekend up in Omaha. A lot of folks want to get tickets. Just one of those times, again, kind of like you said, slow down and make sure you're getting your stuff from a reputable source, meeting in person to exchange tickets or whatever else it might be.
Absolutely. Please require meeting the person. I know it is. Some of us get social anxiety, and some of us, want to bypass that rather quickly. But it's really important to put a face to a communication, to a correspondence, and also be honest with yourself on what kind of opportunities are available and what their real costs are. If you are trying to book a hotel across from Schwab, I can promise you that has been sold out for a very long period of time. And we all would love to find the golden ticket that just fell through the cracks, and we just happened upon it. You should know that the going rate for like a really good ticket is going to be more than $25 to get into the park. So have a good sense of what the market rate is. Work through trustworthy sources. There is a ticketing box, even if I believe all tickets are digital. They can help you work through some of those questions that you have as well. Always best to ask questions first rather than later.
100%. All right. Well, Josh, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, again, that was Josh Planos with the Better Business Bureau. Always has good information, so appreciate his time today. Appreciate everyone for tuning in and watching as always. Make sure you keep it tuned to 1011 both on air and online for all the latest. Until next time, hope everyone has a nice Monday.
1011 News is everywhere. Download our